Now, the next thing I want to do is start reading input from the user. And what I do in this lesson in the book is I create a read input function. So we'll go back to the IO helper over here. And as you can see in the code, this one is pretty simple. So what you do in the Scala world is you implement something like this using this function. So it's a readLine function, and it's inside this StdIn object right there. So the thing you have to do is you import that object there first, and then you call readLine on it. And because this one is going to read input from the user, our function is going to return a try of string right there. And recall that we use try because we're simulating a REST service at this point. So a REST service can fail anytime the network is down, or perhaps you get bad input, things like that. So we will come back over here and say, I want to read input. And again, notice that I'm not passing any parameters in through the front door here. So that's a key indicator that this function is performing some sort of side effect. And in this case, the side effect is that we're reading input. So it's going to be a try of a string right there. And then we call the try constructor like this. And now all I have to do is StdIn.readLine, and that's going to read whatever input the user types in. And then one thing I need to do is come back up here to the imports, and I need to import scala.io.standardin like that. So that gives us that function in our IO helper. So now I come back, I can close that database down actually and close down that one. The only thing we need to worry about is this right here. And now I'm going to say, well, I'm getting maybe input, and that's going to be from, and now I need to come back up here, correct that. And this one is called read input. So now I'm going to call read input like that. And again, whenever you're calling a side effecting function, it's good to put those parentheses there like that and save that, and then come down here. And now I don't have this running constantly anymore, so I'm going to have to run it each time. And now we can see that it is prompting me there. So I could say, hi mom, or something like that. And I don't have any output coming back from the application over here. So as far as we could tell right now, it's working. And if you prefer a little bit of debugging action over here, one thing I should note is I call that maybe input. And as I hover over that, you can see that this is a try of string. So there are a few things that I could do to help show that this is working. One is I can just print that maybe input, and then we'll see what that looks like when that's printed. Save that and then run this again. Say hi mom. And you can see we have a success of hi mom right there. And I showed other ways to handle try values before, so maybe input. In this particular case, when you're working with a side effect, I hate to show this because this has nothing to do with functional programming, but one way you can handle this is say, well, maybe input is a try of string right there. So what I can do in for each is say, now I'm working with a string, and then I can say print line on that string like that, and then come back here and run that. Then this time I'll just say hello, and then you see that I typed hello right there, and then it was echoed back to me right here. So again, this code right here has nothing at all to do with functional programming, but I just wanted to show you another way to work with a try value, and in this particular case, a try of string. And one thing I did not mention is that anytime you see for each, you can be guaranteed that it's being used for a side effect, because for each does not return anything. As I hover here, you can see the type signature for each right here. And here you can see with for each, when you look at its return type over here, the return type is unit. So again, this part here screams loud and clear that for each is being used for a side effect because it's not returning anything. And in fact, the only time I ever use for each now is if I'm writing a little bit of object-oriented code or something like that, and then I'm using for each for a side effect, like for printing, as in this example. And I'm only doing this part right here to prove to you that we are getting that value. So now I'm going to delete that and pretend like that never happened and save that. And oops, as I look at the code over here, I have that code right there for read input. So just be consistent with what I'm doing in the book. I'm going to put that over here. And here I am being explicit and showing that try type right there. And now as I note in the book, I have the input value, and I've shown you before that you could use that in a match expression or with a map method call, and then I just showed for each, and just forget about the for each part. But that's not really what I want. I don't want a match expression. Really what I want is some kind of loop, because I want to keep prompting the user for input, and then read their input. So prompt the user for input, read their input, do something. Prompt the user again, read their input, do something, so on and so forth. So that's going to be the loop that we want to create. So actually, we're very close to creating a loop. But before we do that, I want to create one more I/O function while we're in this neighborhood. And then right after that, we'll get into the looping part.